Hello everyone, welcome back to GS Park. I hope you all are doing well. In this episode of revision, we will be revising our chapter Accounts and Records. Accounts and Records. So yeah, we will be discussing about accounts and records. Can you remember what is the section number which is there for accounts and records? Section number 35 and 36. Section number 35 and 36 we will be discussing now. That is for accounts and records. Section number 35 and 36 says that first of all, why accounts and records are required. Accounts and records are required because usually returns will be filed by the registered person on the basis of self-assessment. He will assess his tax liability, he will calculate the output tax liability, and he will deduct ITC, input tax credit, and finally he will file his return under section 39, that is GSTR 3B, and he will file the return plus he will pay the GST on self-assessment basis. But the compliance procedure will be checked by the GST department. The compliance procedure, the GST department wants to check it, then they will see that what are the accounts and records, what are the facts and circumstances which are happened in that business. When a government will check it, if the government wants to check the facts of the cases, circumstances, then there should be accounts and records, so that it is the responsibility which is cast on the registered person to maintain the accounts and records in his place of business. That's why section number 35 and section number 36 has been introduced. Section number 35 says that what are the kinds of records and accounts and records has to be maintained by the registered person and some specified persons. Section number 36 says that to what extent, that means the time period for which you have to maintain the accounts and records given in section number 36. Now section number 35, we will start with section number 35. First, to start with, I will just revise the section number 35, subsection 1, 2, 3, 4 and 6. Remember that section number 35 subsection 5 is not there. Section number 35 subsection 1. Every registered person in his principal place of business. What is principal place of business? It is principal place of business as mentioned in your registration certificate. In principal place of business, he has to maintain the true and correct accounts of goods purchased, goods inward supply, outward supply, input tax credit, output tax credit, stock of the goods, manufacturing details and sales details, plus any other as records as may be prescribed, including the tax details. Any other documents as may be prescribed he has to maintain in the place of business. Sir, if he has additional place of business, the accounts and records related to these additional places of business are kept in such places, and it can be maintained in electronic forms as well. This is given in section number 35 subsection 1. Again, section number 35 subsection 1 says that a registered person has to maintain the accounts, true and correct accounts in the principal place of business related to the purchase, sale, input tax credit, output tax liability and the stocks, manufacturing, plus such other details as may be prescribed. That has to be given in the accounts and records, that has to be maintained. Plus, if there are additional place of business, accounts and records related to additional place of business shall be kept in such place of business, and it can be maintained in electronic form as well. That is section number 35 subsection 1. Section number 35 subsection 2 says that if there is a operator of godown or warehouse or a place which is meant for storing the goods plus the transporter, even if they are not registered, they are required to maintain the details about the consignor, consignee and such other particulars as may be prescribed in such form as may be prescribed. That is section number 35 subsection 2 for godown operators and warehouse and transporters. Section number 35 subsection 3 says that commissioner may, on the recommendation of the council or make the reason to be written in writing, he might say that such class of persons are required to maintain additional records as may be prescribed. They might require to maintain the additional records. Section number 35 subsection 3 is for additional records. Section number 35 subsection 4 is that commissioner may on writing the reason, on reason to be recorded in writing, may say that such class of persons are not required to maintain the records as mentioned in section number 35 subsection 1. They are not required to maintain the records in such form, and they are required to maintain the records in such other form as may be prescribed. Section number 35 subsection 5 is not there. Section number 35 subsection 6 says that if the registered person fails to maintain the records as may be prescribed in section number 35 subsection 1 or any other manner as may be prescribed, then the registered person is required to pay the tax on account of the goods which are not maintained in the record as if these goods are supplied, Okay. So next, the government says that section number 35 subsection 6 tak hua hai. If you are failed, section number 35 subsection 6 says that if you are failed to maintain the records, then section number 73 and 74 is also applicable. Section number 73, 74, that is for demand and recovery. So this is about section number 35 subsection 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Now it is given that, see, every registered person, listen, every registered person is required to maintain his books of accounts in additional place of business, principal place of businesses. So he is required to maintain the records. Sir, what records he has to maintain? Production or manufacture. I told you, see, this is a story. How to remember that? First you will purchase. Kahan hai? So inward. Once you purchase, you will keep it in your godown, stock. You have to maintain the records of stock. While purchasing, you will pay the input tax credit, ITC availed. That record you have to maintain. After keeping it in your godown, you start manufacturing. See, production or manufacture of the goods. So once you manufacture, you keep it in stock again. Later you sell it, outward supply of goods or services. Once you sell it, you will collect the output tax payable, and such other records as may be prescribed. So there are some people to whom other records may be prescribed. What are these, sir? See, if you are importer exporter, then goods imported exported, that you have to maintain. And if you are paying something under reverse charge, you are purchasing something under reverse charge, then you have to maintain the records of such reverse charge also. And you have to maintain the name and address of the person to whom you are supplying the goods. Here, recipient of your goods or the supplier from whom you will purchase the goods. Your supplier and your recipient, their address you have to maintain, and separate accounts for advances. If you have taken any advances, remember in tax invoice we discussed that you have to maintain you have to give the receipt voucher, and if you are adjusting that, then you have to give the adjustment entry by refund voucher or by giving invoice. So that separate accounts you have to maintain, and address of the premises where goods are stored, that means your warehouse also. So that next point says that records which are maintained by only supplier other than the supplying under a composition levy. Other than composition levy, any other registered person, they have to maintain 2 extra records, accounts of the stock of the goods, stock accounts, stock register. They have to maintain the stock register. What they will mention in that? Opening stock, what are entry, receipts of the goods, and given to the manufacturing, how much is there in warehouse, how much is there in work in progress, what is your finished goods, and at the same time what are scrap, what are destroyed, what are stolen, what is written off, what is disposed, and if there is any waste or scrap. Finally, stock balance. Everything has to be maintained, that is stock. And related to the details of tax, that means ITC availed and ITC GST collected, GST payable. At the same time, tax invoice which is given, credit note there is which is given, or debit note given, delivery challans issued or received during any tax period. All this maintains, all these records that you have to maintain, provided these two are not for composition dealer. This is not for composition dealer. Continued, if you are an agent, then see, if I am an agent, what are the records I have to maintain? The authorization I got from my principal, the authorization which I have got from my principal, that I have to maintain. Plus, if I am receiving any goods on behalf of my principal, that goods also I have to maintain. See, authorization received, principal will send me the goods for selling, he will authorize me to sell the goods, that record I have to maintain. Plus, if I receive some goods, particulars of goods received or supplied on behalf of the principal, if I am receiving some goods, that also I have to maintain. Next one, every month or every week or every day or every year, I have to give some accounts. So that means what are the goods sold, what are the goods there, what is not saleable, all these things. I have to maintain one account as a agent I have to maintain one account. This account I have to give it to my principal. Details of the accounts furnished to every principal, that has to be maintained, plus tax paid on receipt of the supply of the goods services affected on behalf of the every principal, that needs to be maintained. So that also I have to maintain. Records to be additionally maintained by the manufacturer. See, so already if I am manufacturer, I have to maintain all these records, which are these records here. All these records I have to maintain, plus this also I have to maintain. Additionally, I have to maintain some other records such as monthly production account showing quantitative details of raw material purchase, services used in the manufacture, that I have to maintain, plus goods so manufactured including waste and byproducts. This one also I have to maintain. Plus, if I am a service provider, account showing quantitative details of goods used in giving services. For example, if I am a chartered accountant, I am using some paper, stationery, mobile phone, everything I am using for my business purpose, that records that I have to maintain, plus details of input services utilized in service supplied. So sometimes if I am a service provider, see, I am a works contractor, we know that I am a service provider. If I am a service provider, I will take one more works contractor ka service. This inward supplies of service, that I have to maintain. Continued, separate record for the works contract to be maintained. Now we are going to the works contract. See, I am a works contractor. Remember what is works contract? The works contractor is that person who is doing some activity on immovable property and he applies goods as well as service on that. Both are included. This person is called as works contractor. Being a works contractor, I will take the works contract of some person. See, I am a contractor of construction of a building, and I will take some contracts from some person, a builder. I'll take the works contract from some person. I have to maintain the address. The person on whose behalf I will take the works contract, I have to maintain the address of that person. At the same time, for this construction, I will purchase the materials from some person. Materials. It can be cement, bricks, TMT bars, anything that I'll purchase. My supplier ka address also I have to maintain. And with that, some separate records has to be maintained by the person who is doing the works contract. This is nothing but details of the payment received. See, every month or every week on the due date or any other due date, at that time I will receive some amount, payment from that person. I will receive some payment from the one who has given me the works contract. So that payment receipt, about that I have to maintain the records. And see, I will purchase the goods. I have 4 works contractors. See, I am works contractor here. I got the work from 4 contractees, 4 builders. First builder, second builder, third builder, 4th builder. Okay, I got some works contract for which I will purchase goods at once. It is there in my godown. Some goods are used for this guy, some goods are used for this guy, some goods are used for this guy. So that I have to maintain the description, value and quantity of the goods received and utilized in the execution of the works contract. That also I need to maintain. Because how much of the goods and services gone for which builder or which party, that I need to know for that purpose. Next one, the records to be maintained by the owner, operator or godown or warehouse transporter, even if they are registered or not. Records to be maintained by godown, warehouse and transporters, even if they are registered or unregistered. So the records of the consignor, consignee and such other details as may be prescribed in the manner as may be prescribed. Other details in the manner as may be prescribed, that is given. And next, if I am the transporter, the records of the goods transported or delivered, the goods which I have transported, that I should be knowing, and goods stored, how much is there in my cargo, that I have to maintain, and GST of the registered consignor and consignee, I have to maintain that. Finally, for each branches, I might be having many branches. Example, VRL having branches in many places. For all the places, I have to maintain all these records. All these records I have to maintain for all the branches. Continued. Owner or operator of godown or warehouse, they have to maintain the books of accounts for the period for which particular goods remain in their warehouse. For the time period for which the goods will remain in their warehouse, for that they have to maintain the books of accounts, and they have to keep it in a separate places so that it is identifiable that this goods belongs to some particular person. If there is proper officer who wants to do the inspection, he should be knowing that this goods belongs to the person. and including the particulars relating to the dispatch, movement, receipt and disposal of such goods. So that is required to be maintained by the owner. Now, how to maintain the records? It can be maintained manually, it can be maintained electronically. Books in the electronic form. Books of accounts are include any electronic form. That example, pen drive, floppy disk or hard disk, all these things are considered as books of accounts, provided they are maintained in the prescribed manner. So record can be electronic form, authenticated by the digital signature. So electronic, it can be in electronic form but should be authenticated by digital signature. And after keeping this in the electronic form, you have to have a backup. Proper backup should be there, so that if there is any accident or any natural causes, say this, if you don't find the record in that electronic form, then you should have some reasonable time. It should be possible to recover that, restore it. So that's why you should have the backup. At the same time, such records need to be produced on demand in hard copy. See, if you have kept it in the soft copy, now the tax officer wants it in the hard copy, printed form. Hard copy means printed form, then you have to give it in the printed form. No matter how many pages are there, you have to give it in the printed form. And if it is there in the electronic form, if you are giving the pen drive, if that is the this is also there, the password is also there, or some codes are there, then that has to be given. See, password and explanation for the codes, that should also be given. And no entry to be erased or overwritten. Remember, you should not erase or overwritten. If there is any clerical nature, if there is mistake of clerical nature, you can correct it by attestation. The person who has done the correction, no, he has to attest this. This is done by so and so. If it is in electronic form, if you are correcting it, then there should be one entry log of every entry edited. If you are editing any entry, then you have to keep a log. We are the one who has edited the entry, and for what reason, what is the mistake, what was the mistake there, that everything log should be there. And if the books of accounts are maintained manually, then that books of accounts should be serially numbered. For example, in the olden days, you might have seen something called as bill book. In the bill book, some leaflets will be there. Bill books will be having some leaflets. So example, 50 leaves will be there in one bill book, not bull book, bill book. So there will be one bill book. That leaves the counterfoils. So if you see that the front side of the bill book the numbers will be written. So bill book number 1, bill book number 2, bill book number 3, bill book number 4. Same way, passbook number 1, passbook number 2, passbook number 3, passbook number 4. Sales book, ledger number 1, subsidiary book ledger number 1, ledger number 2, ledger number 3, ledger number 4, journal number 1, journal number 2, journal number 3, journal number 4. That means naturally or manually, when you are maintaining it, naturally it should have some, naturally in the sense you should maintain it is serially, it should be numbered. Even the invoice should be numbered, that we have discussed in invoice chapter. Books of accounts are required. If proper officer requires it, on demand you have to give that books of accounts. Next one, failure to maintain the accounts. What happens if I fail to maintain the accounts, sir? Then whatever the goods are there in your godown for which, see, PO shall determine the tax payable on unaccounted goods. So on which you have not maintained the accounts, on unaccounted goods, he will put the tax as if it is supplied. And the provisions of section number 73, 74 will also be applicable, mutatis mutandis. That means demand and recovery will also be there. Finally, section number 36 says that you can maintain. See, remember, section number 36 is for period of maintenance. You have to maintain the books of accounts and records relating to 1 year. For example, 2022, 23. This year you have received one invoice. For example, you received the invoice on 16th of February 2023. 16th February 2023. This belongs to this year. Till when you have to maintain, sir? For the due date. What is the due date of filing? Due date of filing annual return for this year. Because why this year, sir? This invoice relates to this year. Due date of filing the invoice, due date of filing the annual return for this year is 31st December 23. 31st December 23. From this due date, you have to maintain it for 72 months. That means 6 years. 23 हुआ, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. That means till 31st December 29. You have to maintain this till 31st December 29. That is the case. what if this invoice which is there, no, we discussed about invoice, this invoice there was some dispute, there was some revision, there was some appeal or something, it was there on this, then if there is any revision, appeal or anything, then you have to maintain this for 1 year from the final disposal of this appeal. So if there is any appeal, then final disposal, you have to wait for final disposal. After final disposal, 1 year. 1 year from the date of final disposal, or 72 months from the date of this one. 72 months from the due date of filing the return for the relevant financial year for which that invoice or document pertains, whichever is later. So that is given here. See, if where an appeal, revision or any other proceeding before any appellate revisional authority or appellate tribunal or the court or investigation is going on, then 1 year after the final disposal of such appeal, revision, proceedings, investigation, or 72 months. So if you have to wait for 1 year from the final disposal of such appeal, revision or proceedings or investigation, or 72 months from the due date of furnishing the annual return for such documents pertaining to the such accounts and records, whichever is later. I'll give you one example. Finally, last one, I'll give you one example that there was one invoice which is given on 24th of October 2021. 24th of October 2021. Now this invoice, usually when you have to this invoice, no, this invoice is issued on 24/10/2021. Till when you have to maintain this? Till when you have to maintain from the due date of the financial year for which this invoice pertains to. Which is the invoice? So this invoice pertains to which year? 2021-22, correct? No, see, October 21 means April, say 2021-22, that year. What is the due date of filing this return, annual return for this 21-22? This is 31st of December 22. From this date, 6 years, that is 72 months, 6 years. 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 26. 22 say 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 28. So you have to maintain this till, you have to maintain this till 31st December 20, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 28. Till 28 you have to maintain. What if there was one dispute? There was one appeal on this appeal. What if there was an appeal on this invoice, sir? What I have to do, sir, now? Nothing. You have to wait for final disposal and 1 year. After that, 1 year. Think the final disposal has happened on 6th December 28. Final disposal has happened on 6th December 2028. You have to wait for 1 year. What is the 1 year? 5th December 29. Now you tell me whichever is later. Till when you have to maintain? 31st/12/28 or 5/12/29, whichever is later, this one. Because there was an appeal. You have to wait for final disposal. Final disposal is on this date or 72 months. 72 months. This we already calculated here, correct? No, 72 months, whichever is later. So the later one is this one. Whichever is later means 5/12/29. This is the later one. Correct. What if this was 27, sir? Not 28. This is not 28. This is 27, sir. Now you have to wait for 1 year. 5/12/28. 28. Now 31st December, whichever is later, the answer is 31st December 28. So I hope you understood this. This is about accounts and records which we had to discuss. A very small chapter starting from section number 35 subsection 1. One last time, revision of revision. Section number 35 subsection 1, which is about all registered person in their principal place of business, they have to maintain the true and correct records of the goods purchased, inward supplies, outward supplies, ITC availed and output tax liability collected, stock, manufacture and such other records as may be prescribed. Section number 35 subsection 2 says that if you are the operator of a godown, warehouse or anything, such as transporter, then you have to maintain the even if you are not registered, then you have to maintain the such particulars relating to the consignor, consignee and any other such particulars as may be prescribed. Section number 35 subsection 3 is about there are some person who are required to maintain the additional records as may be prescribed by the commissioner. Section number 35 subsection 4 is about there are some person who are not required to maintain the records as per section number 35(1). For such person some other prescribed manner as may be prescribed by the government, so that in that manner they have to maintain the record. Section number 35 subsection 6 is about if for any goods which are not maintained, accounts are not maintained, then it will be considered as the supply and the proper officer may put the tax on such goods, and the provisions of section number 73 and 74 demand and recovery that may be applicable. That is section number 35 subsection 6. Section number 36 says that the period of maintenance of the accounts and records. What is the period of maintenance of accounts and records? You have to maintain the record for 72 months from the due date of furnishing the annual return for the financial year to which such accounts and records will be pertained. If there is any appeal, revision or any other case which is maintained about that accounts and records, then you have to maintain that accounts and records for 72 months from the due date of filing the annual return for the financial year to which this accounts and records is related, or for 1 year from the final disposal of such appeal and revision, whichever is later. So this is about section number 35 and 36. I hope this was helpful to you. Thank you so much people for your patient listening of this video. In next episode we will be discussing about next chapter. Until then, keep studying, keep growing. Love you all. Bye. Hail GST. Yeah, hail GST.